Hello, Gav here. Welcome back to another Gas It Out episode. We finally managed to track Jack Miller down before the start of the 2020 MotoGP season. We recorded it actually a week before the start of the season when he just made it to Andorra from Australia after spending the lockdown there. As you might expect from Jack, and especially from Neil Hodgson, there's a little bit of colourful language here and there, but nothing too dramatic, but some really fun stuff. I hope you enjoy this one. Oh, did you used to race for Ducati?
Oh, sorry. Did it just
Is that
just
Ducati?
Ducati.
Awesome.
Mm,
That's awesome. Yeah.
Ducati.
Wonderful.
Um,
How are you doing, Neil? It's nice to see you looking like you're
Hiya,
outside
Gav.
the tropical gardens there.
Hiya,
Is
Gav.
that
I've
where
been
you
doing the
live?
garden.
Is that
What?
do you have an outside bit in your house? Actually, I've only seen
Oh,
all I've seen in the last
sex
through
sofa.
lockdown is the sex sofa and the vast kitchen that echoes like the inside of St Paul's Cathedral.
I've got a sex sofa and a garden. That's how flash I am, Gav. Just look
Welcome.
behind. Just look behind me. People, obviously, the majority of people who will be listening to this won't be able to appreciate this beautifully shaped bush over my left shoulder, which was trimmed by the one and only me. Oh, but come on then, you listen to this now. You're driving your car.
I'm just thinking, you listen to this,
Hang on.
and people have
Hang
got
on.
all sorts of imagery in their head, depending actually on their own dirty minds.
Yeah, I mean, who though? Like, let's say you're having a jog now, you're having a run, and you're thinking, "Oh, listen to Neil and Gav." But think about this: what I'm going to say. Who doesn't like a freshly trimmed bush? Who? I'm just going to ask. I'm putting it out there. Who though? Who? No, there's no one. Gav, stop shaking your head.
Is it privet? Is it privet that you've manicured?
Tell what it is. It's bloody lovely.
It is actually. Yeah, it's bulbous.
Yeah.
Bulbous. It's very nice. One of the
That's a bit bull bag.
That's a little bit. That's a little bit spiky behind it as well. That other bit.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Gas It Out, ladies and gentlemen. We are on a drizzly day here in the UK today. I don't know whether it is where you are, but drizzly here, Neil, up north in Leeds. If you can hear any noise in the background, I apologise in advance. It seems I'm doing it every week, but I got gardeners in at the moment. Oh, do you know what they've got in the garden? Proper excitement when they turned up with it today. They've got a ride-on digger, but like a one-man ride-on digger and like a one-man steamroller, I suppose it is. But and they've got like these three bits of equipment, and one's like a ride-on wheelbarrow sort of thing. But the ride-on diggers got me giddy. In fact,
you all excited.
So the neighbour's little boy, who must be about 2 or 3, so cute, came out to watch, and he got his own little digger out of the shed. It was quite cute, actually. So that's the noises that you might be able to hear in the background. But it's not a nice day, but it should be a great day because it's one we've been waiting for a long time, which is finally we get the chance to speak to Jacinda Miller, shortened to Jack. You probably didn't know that. It's a long version of his name. But we get to speak to Jack. He's now made it over to Europe. So anyone who is sensitive of the swearing variety, Jack has tidied up and cleaned up his act a little bit in recent years, but I expect an expletive or two. I expect that Neil Hodgson at some point will be called a wanker.
Yeah. I'm guessing he might
I probably will as well. I probably will as well.
I'd be shocked if he didn't open with, you're right there, wanker.
Yeah,
pretty much
pair of wankers there will be.
Every time I see him in the paddock, that's when he walks past me and you. Usually when we're live on air, he'll go past on the scooter.
Go past on the scooter, he'll flick your ear, he'll grab you by the balls, he'll do something, and usually while you are trying to discuss a serious topic. Something, but yeah. So we look forward to speaking to Jack. I just want to get a couple of thoughts. Season's getting very much closer, Neil, on a couple of things that are going on at the moment in the sport. One of those is something we've talked about on the last couple of podcasts about Andrea Dovizioso. Talks now that he may be ready to take a sabbatical from the sport for a year. Basically, it's meet my wage demands, or I'm not playing ball. Who's got the strong suit here, him or Ducati?
Well, the question is, if they don't have Dovizioso, who they're going to have? The only person that you would spring to mind where you go, an obvious one, you need to replace Dovizioso with like for like. Who could win Grand Prix races for you? Well, there's only one person, and he retired at the end of last year.
I thought you might say yourself then. But yeah.
So
he's got a Ducati T-shirt on as well, by the way, for those who
here's one
can't
for
see
you,
him.
though. I was thinking this, Gav. If they can't meet Dovizioso's wage demands, there's one thing I know for sure. They're going to be nowhere near Lorenzo's. Now, bear in mind, they paid
That's a good
Lorenzo.
point, actually. I hadn't thought about it like that, I have to say. I thought Lorenzo might want to find a way back. But if money is becoming an issue, do you spare a little bit more for Jorge than you do for Dovi?
Well, no.
Right.
Yeah. No,
But what? Okay, so we're going to be speaking to his teammate for next year, in theory, or sorry, one half of the Ducati camp, shall we say? So, who?
Can you hear me, Gabla?
I can hear you now. So you must have just popped out. So I just kept talking to fill in the gap.
Okay. Well, they spent 30 million on Lorenzo before, basically, so that we were told it was 15 million a year. They're now attempting to pay Dovizioso, who's finished second in the world 3 times. What's the figures we're hearing? 3-4 million for the year.
He had been upped, hadn't he, in that time?
He'd been up to about 8 million, but they're trying to pay him less now, aren't they? But yeah,
that'd be interesting.
They should pay Dovi his stock value, which is about. It might not be 8, but it'll certainly be 6.
Yeah. What would you say then? There's a lot of talk at the moment about Cal Crutchlow moving out from LCR. Honda looks more and more likely that's going to happen. Aprilia seems like one of the possible destinations. Him and Bradley Smith are both going to want to be in that slot. Still, we don't know what's going to happen with Andrea Iannone. So would Ducati ever go back to Cal? Is that something you could ever see happening?
No,
that wasn't the internet connection dropping out. That
was
a puffed out cheek of Neil Hodgson making good radio.
I can't see it happening. I can't. No, but then if they don't, if nobody blinks in the Dovizioso Ducati, head-to-head battle over, how much Dovi deserves to get paid, they are going to have to get someone who's good. And Cal Crutchlow is certainly capable of being right up there. We know that, obviously. He's won races. He's been on the podium every year.
And his time at Ducati wasn't the easiest, but actually the odd decent result. But it ended a year in, a bit like other people's have that have been through Ducati. And yeah, it ended a year into it. But the bike was a long way away from where it is now.
Yeah, the bike's much better now. So I can't see them going for Cal, but actually, the more I think about it, I'm convincing myself. Who else are you going to go for?
Yeah, I mean, it'd have to be someone like a Bagnaia, wouldn't it, or something like that, which you would say isn't quite ready at this moment in time. It's really an interesting time, and the way I see it is Dovi will be there. It's hard
that's the way I see it as well.
Hard ball from both sides, trying to find a middle ground that's suitable for both. What about in World Superbikes? Michael van der Mark has left Yamaha, or will do at the end of the year. He's going to join BMW. That opens up a slot there. Loads of people are speculating about who might go there, whether it be the likes of Loris Baz, Cameron Beaubier, and I'm sure there's other names you'd want to throw into the mix there. But that opens up a slot at a team which looks like, with Toprak and, with Mickey himself and with Alex Lowe's in the past, has been getting right into a stage where it's going to be challenging.
Yeah, I mean, the Yamaha team, I know it very well, obviously, through the Slows. And watching that team grow, it's been impressive. The work ethic from everyone behind the scenes at Yamaha, everybody works hard. Teams run by Paul Dennin. He literally is a workaholic. No stone is left unturned. He puts a lot of effort into it. And he's got himself in a position where he's two very good riders that are both capable of winning. Obviously, this year with Toprak and Vandermark. Bit of a surprise that he's left, to be honest. I think there might be a little bit of Toprak's come in and he won the first race, and everyone's like, oh, this kid's so talented. You know, reading between the lines, was he offered a deal off Yamaha? That wasn't great. I'm talking about Vandermark.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm feeling undervalued
sort of
a little bit.
Yeah, the rumours I'm hearing, that's what I've been told. So I don't mind.
Yeah,
I don't know why I'm not just saying it.
Brilliant, dancing around.
I'm dancing around it, and I'm thinking, do you know what I actually thought? I was halfway through saying it, then I'm thinking, it's our podcast, we can just be honest. So yeah, I'd heard he'd been offered not quite a chunk less than what he was already on, and he's gone, hang on a minute, Vandermark's a great rider. He's going to finish minimum top 5, potentially top 3 in the world. I deserve a certain level of a financial package. He hasn't been offered it. He's looked elsewhere, and BMW have snapped his arm off it. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd have been Michael's choice to leave. I don't think he'd have been thinking, oh yeah, I need to get away from Yamaha, because the bike's good, the team's good. But also, then you look at BMW, it's still growing, isn't it? You know, you see, it's quite easy to forget. Tom Sykes led a lot of the laps at the first round in Australia. It was only near the end of the race when his rear tyre sort of didn't quite last. The bike looks good. It turns. It's fast. So it's a good signing for BMW. It's a loss for Yamaha, definitely, because whoever you replace him with isn't going to be as good as him. That's how much I rate Vandermark.
Unless,
because if you put Baz on,
Baz
is a good rider, but I rate Vandermark more. If you put Cameron Berbier on, I rate Vandermark a lot.
Yeah, it will be interesting, and who knows what positions, what people there might be who are free in MotoGP or free in other areas who might want to go, or other manufacturers. It will be interesting to see over the next few weeks. All these deals getting done before the start of the season. One of them is for Jack Miller, who will be a factory Ducati rider for next year, who we are hoping finds his way onto this call and is able to speak to us today.
Shall we talk about trying to get him on the podcast? It's been interesting.
It's been a journey, hasn't it? Yeah, I spoke to Jack. We did our greatest race show on BT, right? As soon as lockdown started, we were right on it. And Jack was one of the first people we spoke to. And I'll text and message Jack over a race weekend generally. He's the worst person getting back. Usually he's left his phone in his motorhome. He loses about 10 a year, or used to anyway. Most of the time he just doesn't have it with him now. Down in Australia, it was lockdown. He was spending most of the time building a motocross track. He was like, yeah, no problem. Come on whenever you want. Spoke to him. Yeah, whenever you want. And then just radio silence constant. Every time it's like a week between messages. And so then we went through through Aki Ayo's side, his management, through his pals. Then you decided to go my route and went through the team.
Yeah, I went the route that we normally don't go. So I ended up dealing with this Jack's PR girl, who was lovely. She couldn't have been more helpful, to be honest. Who then eventually put me onto Jack's sort of right-hand man.
He's like back to where we started.
And then eventually put me onto Jack. And Jack's like, yeah, no problem. And then so I go, oh. And this is what it was like, though. I'd be like, oh, good. Can you do tomorrow? Then you don't hear anything for 6 hours. You know, and it was just like this. It's just so, it was just funny. We're like, bloody hell, we've been trying to get Jack for like 3 months.
He's elusive. He's elusive, but hopefully be great value. He's come on leaps and bounds, hasn't he? Really, since he stepped into Moto3 originally, when he was coming through the German Championship, family moved over there. Challenged for the championship a couple of years later with Aki Ayo's team, battling Alex Marquez, which is an interesting dynamic actually. Looking at where we're going in the next couple of MotoGP seasons. Went straight up into MotoGP after that, no Moto2 time, which was a big leap, and we got a 3-year contract with Honda, and then has ended up at Ducati and Pramac, where we start to see the best of him. He's won a Grand Prix in that time. He is the character of the paddock, popular pretty much across the board. Used to be a bit wild, still wild as a character, but is a focused professional now, isn't he, Neil? He's come on. It's been great for me and yourself to watch him develop, hasn't it, over the years and grow up.
Yeah, it's funny because we've watched him develop, but his core personality has never changed.
No.
His love for the sport's never changed, you know, and he's a standout personality in that paddock. You know, it's a serious place. You get to MotoGP, you know you're riding against 22 of the best riders in the world. And there's a lot of pressure. All eyes are on you. But all the way through that, this wild young Australian kid has kept that happy-go-lucky, nice to be around, zero ego. And I think because of that, we personally love the kid, but the whole paddock does. The whole paddock wants him to do well, wants him to have major success. And I tell you what, he's getting there. He's getting there. He did do it the hard way, like you said. He didn't do Moto2, straight from Moto3, onto that customer Honda, which was not the bike to be on. And he had 3 long years on that, didn't he? So, but then he's here.
And he's hopefully going to be on the other end. I'm going to press admit to Jack.
Let's have him on.
And let's hope that he does actually turn up. And we have.
There we go.
We have the boy.
There he is.
He's got zero hair for those of us who can see him. He said that. Oh, that's gone. That's gone.
I give myself a haircut.
You did it.
Yeah.
With the beak, or was that with a?
Nah, just with the haircut. What do you call it? The clippers, but just no blade on. No cover.
I'm gonna have to do that sooner rather than later.
Just get there.
Exactly.
I just got to watch that solar panel.
Jack, it is great to hear from you and to see you too. How are you doing? How's Andorra?
Yeah, good mate, good. I just I was a little late. I was on the phone to Crutchpiece.
Oh, what can you tell us? Have you been getting some gossip?
Nothing.
What's he saying? What's he got to say?
Trying to con him into being on your team, mate, but we'll wait and see.
Hey,
you don't know if he could deal with that again.
Well, could he? I don't know. Could any of us deal with the pair of you put in the same hat? I mean, that would be...
I tell you what, if it doesn't work out, he'd be a bloody good spotter. Imagine having Cal in your corner. He'd be good.
Hey, he could polish your helmet up a tree, I reckon.
More thinking agent.
Oh, he'd be brutal. He would be brutal. Yeah, you'd either be the richest rider, or you wouldn't have a ride. I don't know, because there'd be no middle ground with Cal, would there?
There'd be meetings with top brass. There would be papers flying, without a doubt. At some point, there'd be tables being hit and papers flying at some point in some meeting. Jack, we were actually just talking about that, and I know you can't say anything, but congratulations before the season's even started on the new deal on becoming a factory rider. I know you mentioned it already, but chuffed for you. And we've just been talking about the long road that it's been for you going through, and the way you've grown up through the sport, through missing out on Moto2 and everything. And you'll be a factory rider in MotoGP next season. I know we've got another weird season. We'll talk about that in a bit. But how does it feel to put that ink and have it dried on that bit of paper that means that, I don't know, part of your dreams, I'm sure, are being realised?
Yeah, definitely. I think it won't fully sink in probably until, we step into the garage and put on those nice red leathers and that sort of thing. But, it's just kind of weird at the minute because with the situation and everything, not even having a race done this year, so to have already be thinking or, trying to think about 21 is kind of strange. But, no, I mean, it's a massive, massive goal kick for me to be able to finally do that. It's taken a lot of hard work and a lot of time, probably longer than I expected, but nevertheless, we're there now, so that's all that matters.
And when did you know, Jack? Was this something that you knew was going to happen, or was it like almost was reported in the press? It was who's going to get the ride. It seemed like a sort of last minute.
I was back in Oz, and I was getting, there was a lot of stuff getting around on the press. Not so much about me, just about other things in happening. People moving and stuff like that. And I was like, I almost got a little bit, let's say, like pissed a little bit, because I was like, I haven't heard anything, nothing. So I sent the boys from Ducati a message, and I said, what's going on? Are we going to start moving our asses here? Because, everyone else has done a contract. And, we're still waiting. And I was like, well, what's the go? And they're like, we haven't been at work and everything like that. But then probably within 2 weeks, so probably about a week before you guys found out, I found out. And, they sent through the first proposal and a little back and forth, and then pretty much straight away done.
Just explain, it'd be quite interesting, I think, how that sort of works. Are you directly involved? Is it all through your manager? Do you just sit back and say, look, you sort it, basically, I want to ride for the factory team, roughly what I want financially. How does it work?
Yeah, pretty much like that. But of course, when things start, there's still a human aspect of it there that I think, the teams and factories, I think, like it, to have that sort of human aspect of it, where a rider, they see that a rider's king. You can't be calling. I'm not the guy to be calling. You guys know me with my telephone. I'm useless. I'm not going to be the guy calling anybody or doing too much. But when push comes to shove, and my job's online, I'm going to send a message and say, hey, what's going on here? Are we moving forward with this, or do we need to start looking elsewhere? Because I'm not getting the clearest feedback from Aki of what's actually going down. So what's the deal, sort of thing. So I think it's good for a rider. I think it's good for a rider to sort of stay out of it as much as possible. But you also do have to put your nose in there every now and then. All the other guys are doing it, so you got to do it. But
who do you text? Are you texting the boss man, Claudio Domenicali, or are you at Paolo Ciabatti or Davide Tardozzi? Or do you just
and Paolo?
It's
not like a group, message.
You're not
group. He's sending a GIF of some funny things going on. Signed.
Wolf of Wall Street there, just making it rain.
The cock shot goes to the wrong man. Oh, I'm sorry. It was supposed to be gas. What?
That one was for gas.
You do like it, Gav, when I send them, though, don't you? You do.
I actually asked for more. Gav. I was like, I don't know if it's sent to me, but
I'm sending them as well. Thought I was the only one.
So yeah, it is a massive deal. We know, but did it feel weird coming to an agreement without a wheel having turned? Did it? I don't know. Did you feel like I want to show a bit more of what I'm going to be capable of? Or?
Well, no, not particularly. For sure. We all want to show more. The more you can show, the more in turn you can get a sign-on sort of thing. And but I wasn't at this point. And like I said to the boys, I'm not chasing. I'm not asking for a Lorenzo salary or anything like that. I'm just asking to get on that bike. I'm not going there for free. I want to be paid, but not stupid, man. What's fair if you're going to a factory team as a young guy. But it did feel weird. But it's nice to have that monkey off the back. I'm normally going into the summer break sort of around this time, sort of doing deals, and to have it done already, and just have my head clear on what we need to do this year with the Pramac team, I think is pretty good as well. The mind's clear. I know what the plan is, where I'm going, and a little bit, let's say, of stability, so you can just sort of focus on what you need to do for this year.
You know what?
I tell you what, though, Gav, how important were those last races of last season? You ended so strong. At the time, it's important to finish the season strong, but you just didn't realise, obviously no one knew what was going to happen, obviously with this season not happening up to this point. Like, those last 3 rounds were fantastic, weren't they, for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think for the whole second half of the season, we had a couple bad races like Mizano and a few, there would be another 2 or 3 probably in there. But apart from that, my second half of the season was massive. And, I generally do go stronger in the last, rounds. It's somewhere, I don't know what it is, if I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, the off-season coming or what. But I seem to always sort of excel in those last rounds. And yeah, I think it was a combination of, the tracks that I like, feeling good on the bike and just experience as well. I think all sort of came together, and I was able to have a great ending of the season. And like you say, no one knew it at the time how important it'd be, but do I think I'd be in this position if my end of the season, had been sort of similar to the start of the season? I don't think so.
Yeah,
it looks to me like what you
put
mentioned.
It this way, I wouldn't be sending out messages and that. You'd be keeping quiet and just hoping you got a job for the next year.
Yeah. So true. But Jack, like the Pramac team, you mentioned it, and obviously you're going to be riding for them again this year. We enjoy the time we spend with anyone in that team. It looks like a really great environment. It looks like one that really suits you, actually. And I'm sure you won't mind though saying goodbye to go to the factory team at all. But it looks like a fun place to be, but a place where there's a bit of both. There's a bit of, come on, let's have a good time. We're living the dream in racing in MotoGP, but we can get the job done when we want. Is that what it feels like to race for Paolo Campinotti and Francesco Guidotti and that?
Definitely. I mean, both. I've seen both sides of it. We've had the greatest of ups, but also like, I mean, and even at the end of the season, like 2018 at the end of the season when I was in the front group fighting for the win with Danilo and Aquaplane and Highside, and I went nuts and, was like, what the fuck, the track's too wet. And they got 100% serious with me. This is it. There's other guys still on the track. You crashed out. This is your fault. Own it. Like, they're 100% serious when it comes to the racing side of things, and also with everything, helping riders, taking me to, I've been to, their mental, let's say, like trainers there in Italy and stuff like that. They are really serious about getting results, but they are also, like you say, a fun-loving team. They love to have a good time. They like to see the rider involved with the team and have this sort of family environment. Like you say, I think it's the perfect balance. They've really got it sussed out, the perfect balance, both with Francesco. I mean, he runs a great show, and Paolo is just an amazing team owner.
Yeah, he's a character. He's a character and a half, is Paolo, isn't he?
They've got really the balance between work and play, work and play cut out really well. And, once you get warmed up in that team, I mean, it is by far the greatest team I've been in MotoGP so far. Everything's not, they don't have the bike is, you're getting the maximum you can get for what they've got, anything that they can get you, they will, if it's, and even if it is difficult for them to get, they'll find a way and get you it. That we have a great environment in the hospitality or something like that, but it's probably not the biggest or flashiest hospitality in the thing, but it does the job. They're very conservative like that, where their minds are in the right spot to have the right balance between what we're actually here for, which is to race motorcycles.
Was it, Neil? I was wondering for you if it had been the environment you'd have thrived in your career. And for me, it seems like it suits Jack in a way, in the way that he's described it in terms of a team. But would it have been your cup of tea?
It would, and it's a little bit like when I was with the GSE team racing in World Superbikes, which was like you got like a year-old bike, but it was like a nice team around you. But what happened? You get to a point where you go, I'm not too bothered now about having the nice team around me. I want the best of the best. And even though I know there's going to be more pressure when you get there, I'm now ready for it. And at 25, it's for you, Jack, I feel like the timing is absolutely perfect. Like you will be next year ready to I'm not saying be more serious in your personality, because you'll continue like you are, but you need to be ready, don't you? When you step in, when you zip those factory leathers up for the first time, it's like, right now it's full on business, isn't it? And
yeah,
100%. I think it's great.
Not that it hasn't been, but like you say, I think you touched on it there. The timing is absolutely perfect. I've done my apprenticeship. I've been and worked, and I started from the bottom at Honda. Things didn't really work out the best there. I ended up trying a different route, and then again I started from the bottom in Ducati, and year by year I've been able to prove myself. And next year is going to be the ultimate test, I think, of me proving myself. But like you said, the timing is just perfect. I think I definitely wasn't ready for this 2 years ago, even though you like to think you were. I think I needed a lot more learning, and I'm still going to have a lot more to learn. But I think I'm at the point now where I can take the positives or the extra pressure that you've got there, but also the things you get in the factory team, which help you perform at the next level. I think I'm actually going to be able to use it now rather than 2 years ago or something like that.
I'm intrigued to know, did you watch the Dovi documentary, the Red Bull, the one that he did?
Tommy's looking at me now. I've got my assistant Tommy. He come up here. We've got to go to the coronavirus test and that on Friday, so he's coming down a little early, and he spun around because he sent the link to me the other day and said, have you watched this? And I said, no. And it was hard. We pulled up for like a Coke or something like that. We were out cycling, and I was like, started watching, probably watched about, I don't know, 10 minutes of it, not even. And, just sort of fast forwarded, flicked through a little bit, and just watching it, how he's very brash, I think is the word you could use. He's very quite tense in the box with a lot of the boys and stuff like that. Just from browsing over it, I haven't sat down and watched it properly.
Yeah, well, the thing that comes, I think you learn as much about Ducati and how the factory, how the thinking is of some of the top brass in Ducati. I think you find out a bit more about that and what comes through in it. Just for those people who haven't seen it necessarily at home as well, and I think we've talked about it here on the podcast before, because we both were quite fascinated by it, was that from Dovi, they love the fact that he's this guy who can bring home the results and all these kinds of things, but they wanted more, how would you describe it, Neil? They wanted more excitement from
they wanted
to risk more. They wanted this risk. And I just wondered, because it's almost like they're trying to find that person who will take on Marquez, basically, and will take on Marquez with the risk factor necessary. And I wondered if that was anything that had been in the conversations between yourself and Ducati, of this is what we're sort of expecting from you, or is that to come?
I think like you say, that's to come. I think that's not really a phone call sort of a conversation. I think that's more of a sit down at that big round table and copper hiding from everyone and tell you what you need to be doing. So I'm sure that's on its way. But I think, I think they've been looking for that for a while. Like you say, I think that is the main thing that they are looking for, is somebody to try and take on Mark. And like we've seen, Mark's able to step up and step up and step up with all the things that come on. I think you need that sort of, they don't want someone to throw it away every weekend, but they want someone who would gamble the chips, let's say, a little bit more. I think is the big thing. They've been their safe option a lot through the last couple of years, and it's been great for them. They've had victories, and what is it, last 4 years in a row or 3 years in a row, runner up in the championship.
Yeah.
But I think their ultimate goal for sure, what they've invested and the work that they have put in. Just talking with Dutch before, I mean, name another manufacturer that's turned their bike around as much as Ducati have since, say, 2013, 14. I mean, nobody's made changes like that.
Or imagine what they've done. They've done it almost 2 or 3 times since Stoner's day. We're talking about Australians
exactly.
had success in Ducati Red. And obviously there's that's a lovely tie in there of where they previously had success. But if you think where that bike was and where they were looking at carbon fiber swing arms and then Rossi made one switch, and then it's gone on another evolution again. it's amazing what they have done. That bike has been turned upside down, inside out.
Yeah, I mean, the variations of it, I mean, like you say, you put it side by side to Stoner's sort of championship winning bike, and I mean,
nothing's the same. Nothing's the same.
Is the black things on the bottom, you know, the things that they can't change. The rest of it is just, there's not one thing that's even remotely close to it. So I think,
and even then they were Bridgestones.
Yeah, exactly. You think of the versions that have been in between that too. So it's
Jack,
it's
then,
pretty.
Tell us what the 2020 bike's like. Obviously, you did all the pre-season testing. We know no one's raced yet, but is that a step forward?
I believe so. The bike itself, I'm afraid we won't really get to see the full potential of it at these first couple of rounds because, you know, they're quite tight, technical sort of tracks. But the thing is an absolute ballistic missile. Once you get it up and going, it is unreal. Like in Qatar, you know, getting it wound up on the straight. I mean, I topped the speed trap in all 3 days in Malaysia and all 3 days in the Qatar test, and I'm no by stretch of the imagination the lightest guy. I've got a good aerodynamic package with AGB and Dainese, which really tie in well with the bike. But the thing, like, I've come past the Suzuki and almost blew the stickers off Renz's bike. Like, it's ridiculous.
And what was your speed? What was the fastest you went?
Well, I think the fastest was in Qatar, and I want to say it was like around 3:53 or 3:56, something like that. Yeah, that's going.
Yeah.
But
what does it feel like at that speed though? Now
like 3K off me.
Right.
Really?
Is the bike, Jack? Is the bike really stable now because of all the wings, or not?
Not so much the wings. I don't think, you know, the wings help a little bit for the wheelie and stuff like that, but the bike itself is, in terms of chassis wise, I think the turning, it's still got that Ducati characteristic, which, you know, we know how it is. You got to ride around it. You got to make different, let's say a little bit different lines, call them sort of Ducati lines, where you sort of try and spend the least amount of time on maximum lean angle as possible, because once you're there, you sort of can't really get the thing to come around. But in terms of like the stability in the fast corners, like the fast street corners, and you know, where you really get this a one line, you got to be quite precise with your line. And Qatar was able to do you know, lap by lap, you know, even with a little moment or something like that, we be able to catch it back and keep the bike straight and keep this corner speed there. And tyre wear, which is another massive factor nowadays. You know. Trying to keep the maximum in the tire, especially in the rear tire. It seemed to be really good on the rear tire. Like, even though you've got a lot of horsepower, you're still able to put the power down nicely.
But does the bike feel heavy? Jack, because it seems long and low, and there's wings. There's a wing off everything, isn't there? You know what I mean? Like, to change direction, it gives me arm pump looking at it. You know what I mean?
It is, you know, it is a bit of a pig when you get in corners like in Texas, for example, in the first sector there, when you got back-to-back change directions really fast and generally off gas. Then it is a bit of a handful. You know, if you can use the gas to sort of help you to change directions, it's not bad. We sort of half slide it and get it to high side itself over a little bit.
Sounds easy.
It is.
Yeah.
Like in Malaysia, for example, from turn 2 to 3, you really use that. And that was a technique sort of like I picked up when I was riding a Honda. It was something that Casey was a specialist through there, and Mark really worked out is how to get the bike over quickly in a corner like that. And it's basically you use the rear tire to sort of step out and half high side you over, and you use that rather than your arms so much. But then in corners where you go in really fast and you're off brake and sort of decelerating and trying to change directions, then it's heavy. You don't have any extra help. It's heavy. It is heavy. I remember quite thoroughly last year in Texas coming for my first podium. The last couple of laps you go through our first sector, and every time you go in there, it's just everything you had. Just come on, stay on track.
So obviously Jerez is going to be the first one. How much are you looking forward to getting back in the saddle of the bike?
Yeah, it's been too long. Even the other day, last Friday we went with a few of the boys. It just sort of turned out to be one of those days. I mean, Vinales and I think Arbelino was there. I had Toba with me, and there was a few of us boys just rocked up. We all ended up at Alcaraz, riding just street bikes, and just to catch up with just a few people here and there. It was just a cool feeling. I think that's the biggest thing is missing is it's your family, your home away from home, and it's been my home since 2012. So you do miss that sort of thing. But I mean, the competition side of things you miss the most is just going and getting that. I don't even know what you call it, just that fix almost of going racing. It's the big thing that you miss. And the idea of doing battle, normally we're doing battle pretty much every Sunday, every second Sunday throughout the year. So it's kind of weird to be, since November last year, we haven't been able to do that. So,
and did it get silly though when you turn up at Alcaraz then, and there's a load of obviously professional bike racers there, a few very fast ones. What happens when you're out on track? Because I can imagine what you're like. I bet you're up the inside of people.
It was good, but and then you throw a few hobby riders in there, on some old GSXR 750 and stuff like that. And the poor bastards, someone fires it up the inside, then there's another one behind them, and they don't know where to go. So
no mercy off you lot, I guarantee.
But the Ducati, the standard Ducati is an absolute weapon. Like the thing is that is just, for engine characteristic and stuff like that, the thing is just a torque monster. I reckon you'd have a lot of fun on my own.
Oh, yeah.
But just running the Moto2 tyres because they're quite hard and, you can get probably like 40 to 45, 50 laps out of them, and they're the same on the first lap as they are. They're not fantastic, but they're just perfect.
Consistent.
And, get out there with Maverick on the last run of the day, I just come in, I probably went and did 8 laps, and I sat in the pit lane, we gassed her up, and he was sort of stood out in front. I said, "Come on, let's go." And he just whacked in a couple of new tyres, so we went out together, and he goes, I need a lap to scrub these things in. And I said, yeah, no drama. So I followed him around for the first lap, and then sort of the straight in Alcaraz is quite bumpy, and I come past him, the Ducati with that single swing arm. I don't know how it was back in your day, but they get a bit of a move on. And then at the end of it, my thing was just the tyre was toast on the back of it. You're coming out of corner, power sliding into a wheelie after. This felt like Gary McCoy. It was unreal. Just Maverick and I probably done 15, 16 laps together, just going like that. And it was like the best. It was as close to being in a MotoGP race as I felt in a very long time, and it felt unreal. Just like both him and I, we went out there the last run, and bang, lap times were down like nearly a second from what we were doing all day. Everyone just gone, yep, yeah, let's go. All day you complain, front's a bit soft and this, that, the other. That all goes out the window, and you just sort of go back to pinning it. And the boys on the pit wall were just pissing themselves. It was pretty great.
I don't know whether I'd rather my MotoGP riders doing motocross or out on track together doing that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm a team manager. Either way, I'm watching through the cracks in my fingers.
I wish we got our cameras there. That'd have been good if we got the BT cameras there. That would have been entertaining.
Because, like you say, you throw a few back markers in there that you got to slice through and that, and it brings the gaps in a little bit. Someone will be getting a little bit in front, and then they instantly, I think we should have them in MotoGP, make the racing more exciting.
Do you know what I
love? When we look back, we did obviously the greatest years, and we did all these old races from the past, and the back markers played a part in them every now and then, didn't they? Like when we went back to Rainey's era, and there were a couple of times, and this back markers, you're sort of thinking, we do not get that anymore.
No, exactly. I mean, if someone's getting lapped, there's something going wrong,
Yeah.
Whereas back in the day, it could be Joe Blow who's done a couple of national championship races, and he reckons, yep, I'm going to do a wild card. So it's The times have changed.
I love how you say, though, when you slide in, doing a Gary McCoy, because I always say that if you do a slide about something, you go, oh my God, I was full on Gary McCoy. Because I tell you what, that
I was just
boy,
going full Gary McCoy, especially when it goes from slide to wheelie. It's like it goes like that combination. It just instantly you go, that was McCoy-esque if I've ever felt it. That was it.
He was so entertaining to watch.
It's undescribable, though, isn't it? The feeling. You see why I do it every lap, but I mean, I wouldn't be doing every lap on a 500, I don't think.
But I remember watching Gary McCoy, right? And I used to say when I was watching it, I'd go, why don't the director should just focus on McCoy? Just let's watch McCoy because this is mental. And
that's better than anything that's going on.
Yeah, better than any race. Let's watch McCoy control it. That takes. Yeah, he had some talent, Gary McCoy.
You can watch him the whole day. I mean, you could just sit there and watch him. For example, turn 4 in Barcelona, the last 2 corners of Philippine. I reckon I could sit there all day and watch Gary McCoy.
Yeah.
I think there were times I remember him on the Kawasaki.
It's unreal.
On the Kawasaki, it felt like he was, he knew he was never going to do anything. He was just like, right, I'm just going to have as much fun as possible. I mean, Barcelona was one in particular round 3 and round 4. And you just thought, oh, Gaz is just there, just chucking in a few slides for the cameras. That's what he's come for.
He's making it interesting for everyone. No, exactly. I don't think. Well, put it this way. I remember last year in the winter test in Valencia after the Grand Prix. They sent me out and something happened, like it was only going out for the practice starts. And they said, listen, everything's working, like launch control, all that's working. So you can go out and do your practice start. You just haven't got any wheelie or traction. Something's going on. We've got a bug in the thing and you've got no wheelie or traction. And I said, oh, yeah, I'll just, go slow around. And in my mind, I'm instantly thinking, I'm going to get this thing so lit up. It's not even going to be funny. And I literally came out onto that little like back sort of straight kink in Valencia. And I was like, yeah, righto, here we go. Gaz is coming out. And I cracked into it and I was like, leaning into it and went to light up and the thing just went, what? As soon as the RPM came up so quick and I was like, and it went straight from that to that. And I was like, oh, I am not doing that again. That's not fun. I was just cruising around now. I was just waiting for high side man just destroy this brand new bike and the boys would be really stoked.
Was it a case?
I don't know. I just forgot.
You got back quick, hand the leathers over because they need a clean.
Had to waddle in.
Yeah. The old classics.
Have you ever done anything like that though? Have you ever crashed like doing something stupid and had to come in and just do the old-fashioned lie? The old-fashioned, well, I don't know what happened, but actually you were looking over your shoulder or something weird happened.
I remember the first Moto3 they brought to Valencia at the end of 2011. I did like the last 3 races in 125s and was signed up with that Italian team for the next day. And they gave us, it was the production, like what they're using in the Talent Cups now. Same thing. And the production Honda. And coming off a 125 where you got no engine brake, nothing like that. And it was basically like, go out and do 5 laps. And it was wet in Valencia and every corner coming into us. And I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever, going down one gear too many every time. This is fucking unreal. And yeah, I ended up tucking the front. I remember that one. Oh, it was just slippery. But the bloke before me had crashed already. So I was like, oh, it's just like ice out there. I knew exactly what I did wrong.
I thought you were going to say you blew the engine up by downshifting 1 too many.
No, I was in the wet, so it was just compression locking. It wouldn't even go up in the RPMs. It was like, oh, in the corner. And I felt like I was riding Superbike, dude.
One thing I do miss, and there's lots of reasons why me and Gav want to see Jack Miller win races, but one thing I miss more than anything is your goon riding when you used to win on the Moto3. It was like you were the only man who would do it. Just to explain what goon riding is, it was basically copying my sort of weird riding style. It's like leaning the opposite way, riding just like, you see motocross riders do it a lot. It's quite common, isn't it? Like a Ronnie Mack impression. Yeah, but exactly. You would honestly, when you used to goon ride on a slowing down lap, some of them images of you doing that. I remember one in, I think it was Texas, where you were like going around in circles just with your knee down, all leant the wrong way. So funny. Can you promise me, Jack, we see some more of them in the future?
It still comes out every now and then. The problem is I'm generally too far back, so the cameras are never on me. So that's the problem. But don't worry, it's still happening. But I think if we can get some decent results, it'll come back. But the problem is, you see, OG, is like as I've gotten older and gotten on the bigger bikes, my style sort of turned into a little bit of a cross between let's say like your style of sitting more on top of the bike and especially an entry to the corner, I sort of stay very central and, you know, almost like a Mick as well, where my arse almost looks like it's about to touch the ground. For example, I'm going to see it in Jerez in turn one. I don't know what it is there in turn one with the uphill and how it works. My arse just hangs off, and I see photos and I go, what is that? That is atrocious. But it's just, the problem is on the MotoGP, but you haven't got time to even think about how you're riding or what you're looking like. You're just trying to go as quick as possible.
You're just hanging on, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. You're
just hanging on. I'm trying to think where we saw your style. I think it might have even been Argentina last year in commentary. I'm going, look at Jack Miller. Like, you could not hang off anymore. Like you say, your backside was literally, I'd say, about an inch, maybe 2 inches off the ground. You've definitely got your own riding style, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's sort of like it's a combination, I like to think, between. I do a lot with my legs, like a lot of movement, let's say, with my arse. You know, I hang my arse quite a bit. Whereas a lot of guys will stay sort of central. If you watch a lot of the Yamaha guys, they'll stay really central with the bike and move more with the shoulders. But with the Ducati, especially with how you've got to ride it, you want to try and get the thing off the edge of the tyre as quick as possible. And the quickest way for me to do that is have half my body already out and just try to get the thing up as quick as possible. And I feel I ride a lot with my feet, sort of weighting the pegs, especially your outside peg, to sort of get the thing to stand up. So I don't think it's just I feel it's just the bike you're on. You sort of adapt the way you ride it. You know.
And does that come from you, or is there someone spotting saying, "Oh, have you seen?" Or is it from you watching or testing? Where does it come from?
It comes from that, but more it comes from you. You sort of understand what's working and what's not. You know, and it's just sort of trial and error, I guess you can say. That's one of the things we do when we're testing. You know, is you as a rider, you go out and you try different things, or you try different things and find out what's working better and what's. Another thing is just putting over, you know, let's say how much you're expelling, you know, the most, especially with how physical these bikes are, you try and do it the most user-friendly way for the rider, you know, so you're not overworking your ass. I mean, you can do it for the 1 or 2 laps, but that you need to for quality, but in general, what is going to be the quickest way to get this thing working throughout the race without expelling so much energy?
What about bloody Maverick Vinales' weird heart rate? What is that all about, Jack?
The guy's a snake, I think. He might be half snake or something.
What's going on, though? It makes no sense to me.
He doesn't believe it. Hodgie won't have it.
I'm like,
we're coming up on the stream.
He's tampered with it. I think he's got to have tampered with it because he can be in the middle of a qualifying lap and like, the same heart rate monitor I was using last year, so it's like a small one, and it goes sort of around your arm here, and that's all it is, just a monitor. And I was using it already previous. Like the guys asked me, "Hey, do you want to put it on?" I said, "Yeah, well, I've already been using it. Like, hey, you can even use mine because they just go off the Bluetooth signal. They put a thing on the bike that gets the Bluetooth signal." And I said, yeah, no dramas. I've already been using it, but I was looking at it already in the start, like midway through the year, when Vinales started getting it coming up, and I'm thinking there's something wrong with his, because like, I've never seen 200 on mine, but I'll see in the qualifying lap, like, I've never seen my heart rate go over 200 doing VO2 tests, whatever. Never seen 200, and I'll get like 192, 193 on a qualified lap, and then I'm looking at him and he's 86, 87, 90. And I'm thinking there's some fucking wrong here.
It's so wrong. That said, I've got to say, Jack, me and Gav have sat watching some of your qualifying laps, especially in the wet when you've got slicks on, and our heart rate is like near 200. God, you've entertained us with some of them laps, mate. That takes some proper bollocks, I tell you. My God. Unreal, though.
The problem is once you've done it, you get a reputation, and you're the first one that they look to. So then you sort of got to fill this reputation. You got to no, I got this. So
you feel like you have to. You feel obliged. I've got
about it.
Give the fans what they want. Okay, it's what is it? Who's going to be first out on the slicks? Oh, go on then. Muggins here.
Yeah, I'll go. Be me again, eh? But
hey, it's paid off.
It's like, yeah, it has. It's like that sometimes though, because you sit there and you think it's like Argentina aside. There's been a lot of moments where I had to put the slicks on a lot earlier than other guys, and I haven't seen the reason why they're still going out on wets, or even like you see guys go out on new ones, and you think, why are you wasting a set of new wet tyres? Like, the thing is pretty much dry. There's a couple of streams across, a straight or something like that. That's it. Argentina was another ballpark. That was,
that was just wrong.
That was just wrong. I had to lie in it. That was it.
God.
That was it. You did it to yourself. That's what I was thinking to myself.
What I loved about it was, Jack, obviously it's your qualifying lap, and you've got like 3/4 of the way around, but you get into the wet part, and probably internally, I'm definitely up. I'm up. This is like a good lap. I've just got to survive these wet sections. But it was like you got all the warnings, and you had the bigger slides, and it was just like anyone normal, I'm sure I'd have gone, oh, this is stupid. I'm done. But it was like, no, I think I've still got this.
The worst bit about it, I thought, for the team as well, was that the transponders, for some reason, dropped off the timing screens at the same time. So it was, you'd had all the moments, everyone thought, Jack's given up, doesn't matter. And then suddenly he's across the line and he's done it.
I'm probably thinking, he's straight in the bin. You got to fix the booby here all night, fixing this bike.
Yeah.
But that was something special. I don't think I could, that was one time where it worked out for me. I've had many, many, many times where it hasn't worked out for me. And that was the one few times where where you could go, that was all right, But it was worth it. It was 100% worth it.
It was.
All the fuck else prior to it, It's just...
All right, it's worth it for you.
It's today thinking about it.
It's worth it for you social distancing at the front of the grid. It was worth it for the crowd as well, getting behind you.
That thing comes back. I just remember Fede, when we were stood there on the grid alone, and Fede, the press officer from Pramac, was like, this is incredible. He was so psyched on it all. He's going, this is incredible. This will never happen ever again. He's going, this is the best.
The best bit, honestly, for me, being down there was the crowd, because everyone else was being booed to high heaven, and Jack was suddenly the Argentine hero. He was like this
I became Argentinian that day.
Exactly. It was Diego Maradona was back, and he was in the form of Jack Miller on the front of the grid.
But also, this is where I think you're different to a lot of the other riders. You didn't let it phase you. You still saw the funny side. It was because obviously we're down on the grid, so we can see your face and what's going on, and you're just like, I don't know. It's like, this is MotoGP. This is the absolute pinnacle of motorcycle racing. Just bizarre things happen, and you're having fun at the front of the grid. I just loved it.
Stood on the pegs, giving it with your arms to the crowd.
Yeah, going, where are you? What are you doing?
Yeah. Superb.
I'm pissed anyway, because, if they had done it what it was supposed to be done like, and everyone started...
You'd have won that race.
I would have walked that race. I would have walked that race. I'd have,
no, it's true, though.
I wouldn't have one on me. I wouldn't have one on the win list. I'd have two at least, but it'll come.
I'm going to say...
That one in Assen, that one in Assen, though, and it came in your time. You talked about it at Honda, and it wasn't an easy time, because for starters, you're on a custom Honda, and that was... not the friendliest bike to come into MotoGP when you skip Moto2 on. But do you think that victory, however unpredictable it was, and however much it really wasn't a litmus test of how things were going for you at the time, but do you think not saved you, but it meant that you were right in that shop window of people saying, however tough things are, there's something there. There's something in Jack.
Like, that's the time, like, that was probably, I want to say it was getting that was probably the lowest of the lowest prior to that weekend. I was just having conversations with, like, leather suit companies, helmet companies, you know, personal sponsors, and they're going, you know, we can't keep paying you what we have been. We're going to have to, you know, cut back the results, just aren't showing for what we're paying, and this sort of thing. And you sit there going, oh, this isn't the way it's supposed to be going. Not at, you know, whatever I was, 22 or 23, 22, I think at the time. I'm still young. Like, my career is still meant to be going up, and at the moment it's sort of starting to go down here. This ain't good. And then, like, I remember to this day, like, that night, I'm thinking, you know, if I'm getting all these pay cuts and everything, I'm not going to be able to have this great motorhome that I had in the paddock and stuff like that. I'm thinking, I honestly, to this day, I took photos of the motorhome and that. I was like, you know, I'll keep these for an old man and can look back on. And
brilliant.
Yeah, things changed the next day. I remember that.
Yeah.
And how cool's that? How cool's that, though?
Yeah.
It's like a sliding doors moment, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It really
like,
is, though.
You know,
Yeah.
That was pretty surreal, you know.
And having done the leap from Moto 3 straight into MotoGP, I remember at the time, it was the year after, we talked about it with Danny Kent. We talked about it with other riders in the past about the possibility of doing it. Would you recommend it to any kids who might get the opportunity?
I mean, I think if you believe in yourself enough and you've got enough, you know, it's a tough road. Don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't do it for me. I wouldn't do it any other way. It's sort of another thing, you know. You made your bed, you lie in it, and that was the way I sort of approached it. And I wouldn't change it for me, but I know there was points when you start sort of saying, hey, maybe a bit off, maybe a little bit too much than I can chew. But I think, you know, it was a lot of times you just had to sit down, knuckle down and go, right. And it's just a lot of studying and a lot of willpower, I guess you could say. Self-belief is another thing, I guess.
That's the hard thing, isn't it, Jack? That's the hard thing, because it turned into being then a long journey, and you had to keep telling yourself, you can do this, you will get there, you know what I mean? But like you said, by year 2, year 3 on that Honda, and it doesn't get easier. There's no easy weekends. You don't just turn up and all of a sudden your bike's loads better. It's just not, is it? And you've got to keep thinking, no, I can do this.
The bike was great, like probably the most physical bike I rode. And the thing is, with the Honda, every time I would start pushing on it or get a decent feeling, I'd crash. And like, it just, your confidence takes a knock every time, and you're hearing this from here, and you know, you're trying to still have self-belief, let's say. And it's hard when everyone's just at you, knocking you down, trying to. The thing is, you just got to. I guess the biggest thing for me was just be able to, you know, not take on the negativity and just focus on my ultimate goal. You know, looking back at it, I mean, in the end, I sort of arrived, I guess, where I would have arrived in the time. Well, you know, you never know which way it would have went if I went to Moto 2. But in the end, I've now made it, and it's nice to look back on it. I think the challenges that we went through and everything like that has made me the person I am today. And I think if it had all come too easy, I don't think I'd be the same bloke that I am today.
No, character. It's definitely character building, isn't it? To go through something like that. And amount of times that, Neil, you've said about riders that it's actually in the dark days, in the tough days when you're up against it, that you then, those days come back, they're valuable when you're in the better days, because you know when you're up against it that you've got the mettle. Exactly.
But I don't think that's a side of racing that I always feel like the fans don't quite understand, because all they see is that you're racing motorcycles, you're racing in MotoGP, dream job, everything's great, you're getting paid. But those dark nights, they're a long, lonely night on your own in your motorhome, you know, lying there thinking, I've had my ass kicked again and again. And like you said, Jack, you start building a bit of confidence, and then you took the front, and you don't understand why, because the bike didn't give you the feedback. So then then you start. The horrible thing is, it's when that voice in your head starts telling you, actually, maybe you can't cut it at this level. And it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's a pretty high level. You're not at a local club race meeting. You're in MotoGP.
When you've put your whole life to this one thing, like you want to be a motorcycle racer, and then, and all your life you sort of, people tell you it's hard and that, but they can always tell you, you'll get it, if you work hard enough and that. And then, then it gets to you're there, and then you're just not making it, and you think, this is tough now. Like you say, it's your whole life you've been telling yourself, if I got there, I'd be able to do that. And then you think, have I just been full of it the whole time? So that's a tough one. But that's what I think. That's what makes racing so special. It's the ups and the downs. And funnily enough, this sport is full of them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true.
And you come now, Jack, into this 2020 season 9 months after the end of the last one, which is a bit bizarre anyway. But you've had all this time back in Oz, back at home actually, with your folks, with Pete and Sonia, your parents, who two of the best characters in the paddock that we've got anyway. And if you want to know why Jack's like he is, then you just have to meet Pete and Sonia to find out.
That too loud.
I'll be getting some stick off Sonia for this. I guarantee if she were ever to hear it. But my point in that is that you're a good egg just in that side of things. But how has that been, spending all that time there? You look busy out in the backyard over the last few months. Has it kept you sharp though, in terms of physically getting ready for the start of the year?
Definitely. I mean, don't get me wrong. I wasn't out every day on the bicycle or whatever. I'd still get up and do my runs or go on the bike or whatever when I felt like it. But I mean, I knew we weren't going back racing for a long time. I knew, and I've done it. I do it in the off season every year. Just have my break, and then I come back and do my camp and sort of get myself in shape and get ready to go. But I'm sort of an ADHD sort of a bloke anyway, so I never sit still. And I was out working. Got through so many projects that, stuff that I've been wanting to do for such a long time and just never had the time. Or, when you're there, it's such a limited window that you're there that you don't really want to be doing shitty little old jobs. But, pouring concrete slabs, working on the farm, fixing up, farm equipment, stuff like that, motorbikes, building tracks, building my own tracks, building neighbours' tracks. We all got farms around us and we've all got tracks. So just, fix them up and then go ride on, just stuff that I always did as a kid. And, it's the most I've been in Oz in the last 10 years. And even just because most of the time I go back there where I am in North Queensland, it's when I normally go back in summer, it's like Malaysia, it's 30, 36, 37 degrees in the day. But not only that, you've got 90% humidity pretty much every day. And it was nice to sort of get into winter. I know it sounds strange, but like winter's beautiful. It's 29, 30 degrees in the day, no humidity, 16, 17 degrees at night. You don't have to sleep with the aircon on, you sleep with the windows open. It's just unreal. And just to see that side of, and like, I got to go away once the restrictions and all that sort of went down. I got to go away with Billy and another mate of mine, and we went and met Toby Price, the Dakar rider, and a couple of mates from down south. We sort of met in the middle, and we just went away camping for the weekend with buggies and stuff like that. Just stuff that I grew up doing in Australia, and I haven't been able to do for such a long time. Just to get back and do it, sleep in a swag and sit around and talk shit around the campfire, and so it was just unreal. Just I really, as bad as it sounds, I felt like that was I enjoyed the break. I made the most out of it, but for sure the whole time I'm thinking, fuck, I'd love to go racing. But I really feel like how many professional in whatever sport there is get to take a 9-month break in their prime of the career, in the middle of their career. And I really feel like it's just charged my batteries. I feel definitely more keen, more eager, and more focused. It gave me time to sort of step back and focus on what I want again and set some goals. So it's definitely pretty cool.
That's good to hear.
No,
That's
brilliant.
good to hear. Yeah, hopefully it has charged your batteries and got you ready and raring. We can't wait for it. I think it will be the making of some people, and it could well be. As you
I think it will be for you, Gav.
Next year.
I feel like you were just going a little bit stale. You've been in the paddock a long time. You were looking tired.
You were looking material.
Yeah, tired and a bit weathered. Yeah, you needed to work on your lines. So I think Jack, seriously, I think we're going to see we'll see the new Gavin Emmett, when the season starts.
Well, I have been on the phone to Claudio Domenicali, sent him a couple of messages here and there. If they need someone.
Just before.
Yeah, just got to chuck one in. What's happening for next year?
I think, the Lord that the pubs were shut while we were all off, because, mate, imagine how we all would have turned out then. At least, a lot of people got to go and spend time with their families and stuff like that, things that they haven't done before. It's kind of weird, wasn't it?
The amount of people in the paddock who seen their families for the first time for the longest time ever.
I'm speaking to the boys, that everyone, like one of my mechanics has just had a newborn, and the Tommy Fonseca's had a newborn as well, and they're both second child. So as you imagine, second child syndrome, crying all night, and they're like, we cannot wait to go away racing again and just get a good night's sleep.
The amount of people you do speak to at races who say that they come to racing to have their sleep because there's a child at home or whatever. It's bad.
Colin Edwards used to be like that a bit, didn't he?
Yeah.
Colin would be like, obviously he gets on really well with his wife, but he's like, it's just nice to get away.
I think it's more Alicia, his missus, saying, get out of here.
Get out, you're doing me head in.
You need
Exactly.
To go. I can see why he does the TV now and then, he just needs that, weekend away. I guess he gets to come and hang out with a couple of average blokes. I mean, they're all right.
Exactly. I mean,
well average.
Keith's great. Love is fantastic. So you'll be all right with us.
You'll be all right with them.
Yeah. Right, I reckon it's Quickfire, because we don't want to keep him much longer, because we've already had him for... Sorry, we've stretched our time with you, but we wanted to speak to you as much as we could. So I've got a little Quickfire round for you, Jack. So I want to know, who was your biking hero when you were growing up?
Probably it's a hard one between Ricky Carmichael and Chad Reed, because I was pretty biased between the two. I mean, whoever was winning at the time, I'd take them. I love Ricky because I rode Suzuki's, but I love Chad because he's Australian. And I mean, I was always a Supercross kid. I never really watched road racing too much. I always knew, of course, of Mick and Casey and those guys, but I never really watched too much. I was always focused on being a dirt bike rider, but then when I worked out, I wasn't the flashiest of that. I'm like, give this other thing a go. I'll go right on this.
Did you shed a tear?
And then, of course,
Chad hanging up his gloves at the end of the season.
Yeah, it was pretty emotional. I called him and had a chat. That's one of the coolest things is growing up watching him and being able to go to so many races once I got older and befriended Chad, and to be able to go and just be a part of it and watch him. And I mean, the dude is nuts. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to go and stay at his place when he was in Florida and do a week or so riding there and training with them and just spending time with them. And you can see why the guy's, a two-time Supercross champion. I mean, he's just, his work ethic is second to none, I think. And he's had an amazing career. I mean, anybody who can stick around for that long is doing it all.
I know.
In that sport.
Proper legend.
Exactly, with so many injuries. I mean, we have injuries in our sport, but those guys, you're pretty much guaranteed one a season, pretty much, and you got to ride through it. So
cool. I want to know what your drink of choice is. I remember seeing you, me and Gav. We were in Austin going to the Red Bull party. I think it was 2014, and as we were going into the Red Bull party, you were being carried out like a roll of carpet because I think you had a little bit too much to drink. So I'm quite intrigued to know what's your drink of choice, Jack?
I still remember it this day. I said it that night. I won that second race in a row, and I said, "Don't worry about it, boys. Tonight I'm leaving on 4x4." Well, the team goes, "What's 4x4?" I said, "On 4 legs, on my hands and knees, man." I didn't even leave that. I went 66. I got carried out.
Got carried out.
Then drink of choice was probably, I would say, Jack and Coke. You know, young, you want to drink the hard stuff, I guess you can say. But nowadays, it's I'm on the, they're not even midstream. It's Hans Superdry. It's kind of like a dry beer, sort of like a Corinne a little bit, but a little bit lighter as well. It's only about 3.5. It's a beautiful drop of beer at home. In summer.
I love how he's describing it. A beautiful drop of beer. Gav had a little glint in his eye then.
There's nothing better. Nothing better when you're out on the boat. It's like I said, 35 degrees plus, and you pull one of those bad boys out with beautiful cold esky and just
happy days.
Unreal.
Superb. Love it. Jack, you've always been amazing at wheelies, but who is the best in that paddock? I want to know who's the wheelie king, because obviously you're up there, but I
don't know.
Challenge you.
The best. I reckon the best used to be. I remember when I came into the championship. Do you remember that? Was Al Naimi?
Oh yeah, Marshall Al Naimi. Yeah, he was a Qatari. It was the stunt rider.
He was unreal. Like, I remember it was like my first Grand Prix as like a fill-in rider in 11, and the back straight in Misano, and he just put it up to about there and just had it there the whole straight, and I was like, that's pretty decent. There's a few of them around. It's kind of hard nowadays to try and do it with all the stuff we've got on the bikes. At least I know with the Yamaha, they've got that party mode button.
Exactly, they have a special button put in.
Party mode. Have you heard that?
That was a Valentino request by all accounts. That was it, wasn't it?
Yeah. They call it the party mode, and I just don't have the. I haven't had the balls yet to send Gigi the message. And say,
can you imagine?
But have you been told off the teams not to wheelie, Jack?
Oh no, never get told. No. Like I always check with them. Like with the Honda that I had in Moto3, we couldn't do it because we couldn't do it too much because the oil pickup was in the front of the engine and the oil would run to the back. KTM was no dramas. It was like we couldn't go anywhere, and the Honda and the Ducati are both no dramas. But the Ducati, I tried every which way was Sunday to try and get the thing up, and you can either get it sometimes and you can't. It's hit and miss, and it can make you look like a fool sometimes too. I remember after the podium last year in Aragon, and Red Bull, Motorsports, and everyone put it on their Instagram, and I was like jumped on the seat to do a stand on a seat wheelie. And that thing came up about that high, and it was just a power stand for like the straight, and I was like swing it off. I couldn't get up, and I just looked like a fool.
Brilliant. I love it. Last question. You're really good friends with Cal Crutchlow. He appears to be like your best mate in the paddock, and I know he loves you. My question is, at the Australian Grand Prix coming up, the next one, on the last lap, it's between you and him. You're going into MG, he's in front of you, and you know the pass isn't on. If you go through, he's going down, and you'll win the Australian Grand Prix. What do you do, Jack?
That's a hard one, Hodge. If I know I'm going to win the Australian Grand Prix, I'm doing it. I'm sure he'd do the same. I'm sure he'd do the same. I mean,
good answer.
If we were at the British Grand Prix in the last corner there, and he knew he had the stuff here, I know he would. But
yeah,
I think it's all spare and love and war.
I'm glad you said that.
And if it was a British Grand Prix, he'd feel like he was returning the favour, though, wouldn't he?
Yeah, returning the favour, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, you always got to bring that up, don't you, Gav? Thanks, mate.
Well, got to keep it spicy between you and Carl, haven't we? Don't want too much of a love-in. Is that your last question, Neil? Have you got?
Last question.
When are you bringing out the big? When are you bringing out the big questions? When are you?
Do you know what? There's no big ones today. They were my big ones. Sorry. Usually there's sometimes some really big ones in there, but they weren't this time. Well, actually, I have. The last question is, Gavs always says that he thinks he can beat you in an arm wrestle. Do you think he could? Do you think he could?
For the state of the socks that he gets around in, them pink pants and socks that he gets around in, those flowery coloured socks, I don't know about it, but I mean, I don't have the biggest arms going around, and even with a few cups of courage under me, I still don't go very good. You wake up in the morning and your arms hanging off, and you think, oh, I definitely put too much into that arm wrestle last night. I didn't even win it. I'm not very good. So I reckon he might have me. Look at the shoulders on the bloke.
Look at him though, Gav. He's like a machine, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, we'll try it out. We'll try it out when even if we're in the paddock, we won't be able to try it out. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when we do get back racing. But we cannot wait to see it.
You guys going to be there then?
We're not going to be there for the first couple of races. The first few anyway, just because of regulations and these kinds of things. There's only a certain amount of people per TV allowed in, and so we're not going to be able to see you directly.
What are they going to do? They're going to.
We're going to be. We'll be covering it. We'll be covering it, but we'll be doing it from a studio. So it's unfortunate, but we'll still be speaking to everyone as much as usual. Probably be pestering you remotely, that kind of thing. But
that's all right.
Yeah, just no different to normal anyway.
I'm not real good. I'll be fine anyway. So
exactly. Now, so. Poor old Thomas will have to deal with all the shit. So
yeah, we'll get Tommy onto it.
Jack, it's been great to speak to you. We wish you all the best for the start of the year, and we hope that it all that time back in Oz has paid off when the seasons gets going in Jerez and on through the year. And just hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get a bit of Goon riding in, because that means you'll have had a good day at the office.
Yeah, top man.
Exactly. Let's hope for some more Goon riding. Cheers, boys. Thanks for the chat. It's been good.
All right.
Yeah, great to catch up. Cheers, Jack.
Cheers, Jack. Take care, mate.
Brilliant, great to catch up. Honestly, whenever I speak to him, my eyes water just from laughing, because he just does make me laugh. The boy, he's a good lad. He's a nice kid as well. 25, as you said it, I think it was just spot on. Coming into the prime of his career. When we spoke to Bradley Smith, who's still only 29, you're saying that sometimes when people, hit their peak, but it's late 20s. He's got the experience, and you can hear that, can't you now? That he's even taken this time out, appreciating what he's got, appreciating having 9 months off, appreciating where he's at. He's got a factory move on next year. And that's already a monkey off your back before this season proper starts, isn't it? To be able to just think, right, I'll just get stuck in.
It totally takes the pressure off. Imagine the riders that are going to go into Jerez 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks away without that contract signed. No, there's only so many seats, and very quickly the music stops, and you don't want to be the last person standing. So for Jack not to have to worry about any of that, he can really get stuck into this year, enjoy it, and also start to build some momentum to have a real crack at it, in 2021 on the factory team, on possibly the best bike in the paddock, because that Ducati just seems to get better and better, doesn't it? So, yeah, timing's obviously crucial, and he's grown up in front of our eyes, hasn't it? We've seen him really mature, and we're absolute lickers, aren't we? We like him that much. We are proper fanboys.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
I'm not ashamed to admit it.
Not at all.
When people say, "Oh, who's your favourite MotoGP rider?" Before they finish saying it, I always go Jack Miller. You know what I mean? It's because it's just like, it's because he's never changed, and you just want him to do well.
Yeah, and I'm sure he'll have a great year. And he sounds fit, ready to go. It sounds like the bike's in a better place than perhaps we thought. It sounds like definitely. Yeah. So when we get to Austria, for example, or somewhere where it can really let it sing, we're really going to see the best of that bike. Maybe not at Jerez, and just wonder some of the places we go, like Misano, Valencia. You just wonder, are there too many of those kinds of tracks in the calendar that we've got? But time will be the storyteller, won't it, in that one? We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, his big year, though, is not this year. You know what I mean?
Now that he's got that deal done, if he hadn't, that's what I mean. It would have been this year.
Yeah, this year. Don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean he won't even think like that, but just being, looking at it realistically, it's all about, for Jack Miller, where he will be in his career, what will happen in his future will be determined by how that season goes.
Yeah. And we wish him all the best. So, it's exciting for him, exciting for us. We'll be racing soon enough in MotoGP, World Superbike to follow soon after that. BSB will be back. It's going to be a summer into autumn, into winter that you're never going to forget because there's racing on non-stop pretty much. So we are looking forward to it. We'll be back with you very soon indeed. And we'll also be covering the racing soon enough too. We do appreciate, don't we, everyone who gets in touch. We appreciate all your comments and we appreciate you all listening. If you do have any comments, anything like that, at Neil Hodgson 100 is his Twitter handle. So just send me.
I thought you were going to give my email address out then. I was like, what? Yeah, his mobile is 077.
Send him, or any abuse basically that you fancy. He loves that sort of thing. But we do. And any comments, any questions you got, we'll try and answer them. So thanks once again, Neil. Great to catch up.
Gav, I love you, man.
See you later. Bye.
Yeah. See you guys. Thank you. Ciao, ciao.